Okay. So today we're going to talk about the struggle of hitting calories, especially once we increase them, because we have probably noticed it's once everybody wants to eat more until Nicole tells them to eat more. And it's so much easier said than done. Like, I love food, I want to be able to eat more, I want XYZ. But then once we actually do it, that's when it's actually a lot more difficult. And how can you eat more calories in the right way? So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you have any questions, even if you're watching this recording, obviously shoot them my way. But before we get started, let's in the chat drop some wins. So what are some wins that you have in the past week? Wins, we had the challenge last week. My challenge rocked. I set myself to wake up an hour earlier every single day. The first day was fun. Second, third day, absolute like so hard. And then after that, it got really good. So I think I'm just gonna keep that going. I decided to move my Monday workout to Saturday, and I went on a girls' hike with my new gym friends. Ah, I love that for you. I've been telling you that I have been inspired by you making gym friends because I am just like awkward. I don't know why. This is like, I love the gym, but I'm so awkward in there and I want to make friends. So I love that. Been waking up at 5:30 and doing your burpees. Ooh, and ran a mile. Nice. Oh, I ran 2 miles. That's a win. I was so sore. So that was part of my like challenge for this week. Anybody else that wants a win, feel free to put it in there. And if you ever, anybody on the recording as well, if you have a win, send it to me. Be like, hey, I just saw the recording. Here's my win from the past week. Because I think it's very important that we do always analyze on that. So let's get it going for today. If you have any questions as we go, feel free to unmute yourself, or like obviously at the end, you can put in the chat if you have questions. If anything you can like super relate to, like, oh my God, this was me. Also, you can put that in the chat. Every single person on here right now has at one point increased calories. And everyone has felt the struggle of like, oh, this is actually more difficult than going into a calorie deficit. So we'll get into it. Today's agenda, we are going to be talking about why increase and decreasing calories, adding slash swapping to hit your calories. So if you're struggling to actually hit them, what are the things that we can start adding? What are the things that we can start swapping? We talk a lot about that when we decrease calories, and we know like, okay, calorie deficit, low calorie foods, all that, but increasing calories is completely different. And I also want to share with you my experience with my current nutrition coach and struggling to hit her calories because she increased my calories and it did not go well on week 1. All right, so disclaimer. If you are in a calorie deficit phase right now, some of the things that we talk about today might not feel like I can relate so much to this, right? So always, as I say, remember your phase. So if you are in an increase phase, if you're in a maintenance phase, if you just started your shred phase, you're about to get started, Jackie's on here, it's her first, literally her first day here. So if you are in a calorie deficit phase right now, a lot of this is gonna seem like you can't relate. However, I will promise at some point calories are going up, and at some point it's difficult for you to start hitting those calories, or I'm saying like, hey, you're falling short, we need to do these things. So a couple of reasons to increase calories. Number one is health, right? If we see, especially like in women, we see a lot of hormone health decline, right? So our energy starts to go down, our hair starts to fall off, our period goes away, right? Our health really will go down if we keep calories too low for too long. And then that's an indicator, hey, like, we're starting to see the importance of increasing calories. Metabolism optimization. So everybody wants faster metabolism, right? Burn more calories while basically just kind of living your life. Energy. We are thriving girls. We are not surviving girls. Muscle building. And really, food is good. And I put that in there because honestly, you all know a little bit about my history, but when I was like really under eating, I got to the point where I was just like, fuck, like I feel like I can't eat the amount of food that normal people would eat. Or like I have a cookie and I feel like I'm gaining weight. I have pasta at dinner and then the next day like the scale completely spikes. So I wanted to get to the point where I could thrive off of having these foods because food is really good. And the more that we add, that means that we're also adding a lot of nutrients to our body as well. right? And the reason to decrease calories is you're going into a fat loss phase, of course, if you are healthy, if you are ready for that phase. So that is a difference. So you have to eat more calories. Nicole told you to eat more calories. And again, everybody wants to eat more calories until you're told, and it's very, very scary. So increasing calories is not easy. It is very hard mentally and physically, right? So one, visually seeing more food or calories on your plate is not an easy thing to deal with. I was actually talking to Via a couple weeks ago. I don't remember last time we spoke. But I was mentioning to her, like, hey, when we increase calories, something that's gonna start happening is you're not gonna have 400-calorie meals. Like, you're not gonna have these like 500 or like 300-calorie meals. Instead, they're gonna start turning into like 600, 700-calorie meals. And she was like, holy shit, like 700-calorie meals, like I can't even picture seeing that in my app. So that's something that mentally we have to start adjusting to, right? Seeing the food on our plate and feeling like, oh, fuck, like I usually try to eat really small, or I try to snack very often, and it is a different visual sense. So mentally that can mess with us. Our inner dieter is always going to be knocking on the door, telling us like, hey, you probably shouldn't be eating this. Oh, no, you actually shouldn't be eating this many calories. Like, what if you get fat? What if you lose all your progress, right? The inner dieter is going to be there, but understanding what we're doing is going to help shut that inner dieter up. It's also going to test our good food versus bad food mindset. So for example, some people say like, nuts are bad for you, seeds are bad for you, avocado, they have too much fat. But realistically, when we're increasing calories, these things are actually really, really good for you. So the things that we deemed bad because they were high calorie, now that starts to flip around, right? Our body adapting to the process is also not easy, especially if you have dieted for a really long time. When we increase calories, you're gonna feel full, you might feel a little bit bloated, right? Some people respond different than others, depending on dieting history. So that obviously is gonna be hard. And another thing that's difficult is not getting it right. Similar to a calorie deficit. You ever like struggle to hit your low calories? You're like, fuck, I'm craving it like this, and that. Like I want more carbs, I want more these things in a day. I feel like they don't fit, right? Not getting it right on either sense is difficult, but we can work on that. So one thing is, again, if we increase calories and you feel like, fuck, I'm not getting it right, I'm falling short. I'm supposed to eat 1800 and I'm barely cracking 16. Or I'm supposed to hit 2000, or like even I'm supposed to hit 1500 and I'm barely cracking 1400. First thing that we have to do is stop freaking out. Every time you don't get something right, you're just finding what does not work. And that is a beautiful mindset to start like taking in throughout this journey. Think about if you, like when you were figuring out what you wanted to do for a living and you had all these jobs and you're trying to figure out, you didn't go to a job and you're like, well, that I hate that. You didn't think like, wow, I'm gonna hate my life for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna have a good job and I'm just gonna have this job that I'm gonna like die for forever. You're like, okay, I don't like that. Let me try something else so that you start finding what you do like, right? With meal prepping. Sometimes we try the day by day meal prepping. We realize I don't like that at all. I'm gonna try bulk prepping. Okay, that worked better. Same thing with your calories. If you're not hitting them, it's okay. We're just figuring out what doesn't work. So a couple of mistakes when trying to hit your higher calories. These mistakes happen when, one, you were low calorie for a while and you are very hungry, or like you have high cravings. So let's say we've just hit or we've been in a calorie deficit for a while. You're hungry, you're craving, your body is telling you like, fuck, like, hey, I've lost 10 pounds, I've lost 15 pounds, I've lost this amount of weight, or like, I've been making this transformation, I'm hungry, right? So the moment that we increase calories, it's very easy for us to just like want an abundance of food and it being too much food, which I'll talk about in a second. Right. Second thing that is a mistake is getting too full, right? And feeling like you can't hit these calories, right? But we obviously don't want to stuff ourselves. So if you're having a plate and you're like, I'm supposed to eat these calories, but genuinely, if I finish my plate, I'm going to be super, super stuffed. My stomach's not going to feel good. My energy is going to go down. I don't want you to stuff yourself, right? And then next mistake is you don't take time to learn and adapt, because this is something that we have to adapt to. And for a while, we spent so much of our lives trying a bunch of different things and trying low calorie, and our body takes some time to adapt to this, right? So we cannot skip this phase of learning, of letting that set in, metabolism really firing up. So a couple mistakes when hitting low calorie is just trying to eat bigger, bigger, and bigger. I've done it. I will show you some examples. I know some people have tried it as well. They're like, holy shit, Nicole, I can't have this much food. Digestion starts to go down because we're eating low calorie foods. I was just in a calorie deficit. I was just eating 1,500 calories. Now you're telling me 1,800 calories. So I have to have 2 sandwiches. Like I have to have 2 cups of rice, and the plates just get too big. We don't want to do that. Another thing, like I had mentioned, forcing yourself past fullness, eating too much quote unquote junk / processed foods. Not saying that you can have a cookie, you can't go for a pizza, you can't have like chips if that's like your thing, but we don't want to also just have too much of that. And another thing, this is usually the problem, is just trying to eat too healthy, where you feel like I can't have chocolate, I can't have the high fat option, I can't have like the ice cream that like whatever, right? You can't, when we're thinking high calorie, yes, we can be healthy, but sometimes that idea that we have of being healthy just means low calorie. Those are not the same. High calorie and low calorie does not equate health. Foods can be low, broccoli is super healthy, but it's super low calorie, right? Oil, olive oil is very healthy, but it's super high calorie. So we're starting to see the difference there, and not planning, which is honestly the root to all problems, but you guys all plan because we all plan our meals the day before, right? Okay, so here are some examples. This is Nicole when she was trying to figure out, I was never taught these things. That's why honestly my coaching is the way that it is, because my coach used to just give me like numbers. Love her to death at the time. Like she is amazing. She taught me so much, but there was not a lot of education here. So when she said, hey, increase your calories, I'm like, cool. So instead of just having like a wrap with like eggs, I'm gonna pair that with cottage cheese. And I started having some cottage cheese. She increased my calories again. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna add my favorite bread to the side. So my breakfast was fucking massive. And I had to, because I wanted to have more calories, I also started to add more vegetables. So I was having a fuck ton of vegetables. Judge me, but I love the stem of broccoli. So you'll see that there. I still love it to this day, but there was no need for me to have so much vegetables. This really started to fuck with my digestion, and I didn't understand what was going on because I'm supposed to be thriving off of these calories that I see on Instagram. This girl's posting her 2,500 calorie a day and she's like so lean and so full of energy, and I am struggling because in my mind I was thinking healthy, I was thinking low calorie, I was thinking I need my foods to be much bigger. So instead, we want to focus on keeping meals around the same size, but adding more calories. On the contrary, you go into a calorie deficit, right? You're not having your rice bowl with your protein, and then you're gonna say like, no, I'm just having protein now. No, you're gonna have the same meal, but instead of like the rice, maybe you're gonna have some like a salad with it. You're gonna have some spinach, right? We're not just completely taking things out. I'm not gonna have the bag of nuts, but I'm gonna have a banana, right? Similar size. So this is gonna be the same thing. We wanna always focus on how can meals, meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, and that snack kind of varies because when you're on a calorie deficit, I know the struggle there, but those meals are about the same size. AKA, you're adding more nutrients and you're adding more flavor. So we'll get into that. So here are some examples. Notice the difference between the pictures that I just posted before versus these. These are probably similar calories. Honestly, these are probably a little bit higher calories, but they're much smaller in size. So I want to point out in each photo the little adjustments that I made. And when you're increasing calories, these are the adjustments that we should start thinking. So here, on the other photo, I had like my rice and then I had a fucking fuck ton of vegetables. So much, right? I had so much of it. Instead, I don't need so much, but I'm gonna add some hemp seeds. This adds 90 calories. I think hemp seeds, I just had them recently, but I'm pretty sure. So we're adding 90 calories of hemp seeds, and it's just like a little sprinkle on top. You kind of don't even notice it's there, except it tastes so good. That is not only nutrients that I'm adding to my meal, it's calories that I'm adding to my meal, and I love hemp seeds. They taste so good. All right. So there's a big difference on me adding another scoop of rice, another whole cup of rice to get, or half a cup to get another 100 calories than for me to add 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds. So this is much different. I'm hitting my calories. It's not so impossible. My metabolism is thriving. I'm getting all of the bonuses that we mentioned before, and I'm not feeling super stuffed. Same thing here, I added sesame seeds. Here, if I would have added, I think this is granola or oatmeal or like banana. If I would have added that, more of that, the meal would have been really, really big. But instead, I added peanut butter. Peanut butter is so good. It's nutrients and it has a lot of calories in it. Love hemp seeds. Yeah, I feel like that was like a hack that I thought I found out. And then everybody tells me like, yeah, hemp seeds are so good. I never knew they were like a thing. But yeah, if you haven't gone hemp seeds, great protein source, great fat source. Another thing here, when I was increasing calories, I had my low calorie bread, I had my low calorie rice cake. So now I'm trying to have like a double sandwich. No, switch that low calorie bread, get yourself some sourdough, use a bagel, add some chocolate to your pancake instead of trying to make your pancake bigger, add some olives, right? All of these meals compared to the other one, super, super drastic. These are much easier to digest and they're a lot better for me. And here as well is it's also not a terrible thing to have a little bit of dessert. Everybody loves dessert. So if you have it every so often and it's fitting into your calories, that's totally fine. Right, so a list of things that we can start adding. Right, these are my favorite. Obviously, everybody's different. If you have more, share them. We love that. So a couple things in terms of carbs. Things that I've done is going for like a bagel, sourdough, pasta, quinoa, couscous, rice. But the switch from I didn't know sourdough tasted that good and it was so high in calories. I'm having the same sandwich. I'm hitting my calorie goal. I'm getting all of the benefits, but I'm not feeling like my 60-calorie bread is gonna like be the end of me. So that's one option that we can start making. Similar to if you're going low calorie. If you're having sourdough right now, okay, let's switch to like a lower calorie slim. All right, in terms of adding, some of my favorite things to add is also sauces and spreads. So if you're having like a sandwich or a bowl or like whatever, can we start adding nut butter? Pesto is my favorite. I talk about it all the time because it's my favorite sauce. Hummus, tzatziki, butter. I used to think butter was the absolute like evil. It was not allowed. But now when I have potatoes, I'm adding butter. It tastes absolutely amazing. And I don't need to have an excess amount of potatoes. I can have less potatoes with more calories on it. Olive oil, honey, maple syrup, chocolate, all of these things are also just going to make your meal taste so much better. Toppings that we can have, chocolate, again, olives, seeds, nuts, dried fruits, cheeses, coconut flakes, and other, honestly, it just goes so far, but not getting the low fat option. I probably because of things that I grew up with, everything in my house had to be low fat. Like it was just like if it was a whole milk or like a regular yogurt, it was not allowed in the house. So like everything was low fat. You don't always have to go for that, especially when you're increasing calories. Avocado, granola, dessert, these are all things that we can start adding. Now notice all of this. To the meals that you're having right now, if you're struggling to hit your calories, I promise if you just pick 2 of these, your meals are not going to change so significant and you're gonna start hitting your calories. It's just about learning what works for you. For me, I do pesto, I do olive oil, I do butter, I maple syrup, chocolate. I do a lot of these honestly, but I started incorporating them one by one. My kick right now is granola. Ooh, when I'm on a kick, you know I'm on a kick. So now it feels like I'm not adding healthy options. Let's talk about that as well. Now, with this, we want to think of our meals as 80-20 or 90-10. Your meals don't always have to, or your day, your week, doesn't have to be so perfect. I'm more in like the 90-10, 80-20 is okay, right? So we should have some type of other things in there where you're having dessert. Maybe you're having ice cream with your kids. Maybe you're having like, okay, pancakes technically won't be as healthy as like if I made some like extravagant breakfast, but like they taste really, really good, right? So paying attention to ingredients. Again, we don't always have to be super, super, super spot on. Every single meal has to be perfect. Have the pizza, it's okay, you'll be fine. Sorry, now, question here. Why don't you want to have healthy options, even though, or unhealthy options, even though they fit your calories? So this is a question that I had for Dee that mentioned, honestly, this came from her. Like, I feel like I'm increasing my calories, but I'm not doing it in a healthy way. Now, I go into dessert kicks every so often. You probably see it on my social media, but I get to the point where I'm like, I don't want this anymore. Not because like it's the worst thing ever. Again, my meals are like 90-10. 90% of my meals are pretty fucking healthy for me to be able to have a cookie. However, for me, I was just like, I don't want to have sugar every day. So I just want to switch that out. So it's important that if you're wanting to or not wanting to add foods that are like just dessert or just chips or like you don't really want, ask yourself why. And just answering that question, once you get to the bottom of why, then you'll actually do it. Why do you want to go to the gym? I want to go to the gym because I want to be able to walk when I'm 80 years old. There's your answer for why you've been struggling to get to the gym. So ask yourself why for these things. And what can you do instead? So if you don't want to just have cookies, you don't want to just have chocolate, you don't want to have like sugar, which obviously you shouldn't have all the time. What can you do instead? Right? Can you make healthier recipes for like dessert that also are going to hit the calories? They're a little bit more whole foods. Now, recently, my coach increased my calories and I quote unquote failed. I put in quotes because like you can't fail, you just learn for a week. I could not hit these calories. I was struggling. At the end of the day, I'm like, fuck, again, like every single time I was just under. Right. But I started to notice a pattern. Right. A pattern that I noticed, and this week I'm starting to hit my calories, but a pattern that I noticed last week is I'm struggling to hit my calories. However, I'm missing a point of hunger that is around 3 o'clock. So when I'm thinking adding calories, I need to start figuring out that snack that I was having, I can build it out a little bit more. Something that she pointed out for me, because I showed her all of my meals, was like, your breakfast is super low calorie. I was like, oh, but I just love my breakfast. She's like, that's fine. You just have to figure out how can we add more carbs to it. And then I started to add more carbs to it. Just like that, these switches that I've been making this week versus last week, I'm hitting my calories way more consistent. And I really haven't changed much. I'm having the pancakes, I'm having the oats, I'm having the honey, like I added flax seeds, I added literally everything that I told you today, I just made those tweaks. All right, so start, if you are struggling to hit your calories, how can we start to notice a pattern? Damn, my breakfast is only 300 calories. Okay, I'm gonna start there. I actually get really hungry around this time and then my energy dips. That's where you need to start adding. So notice a pattern of where we can start tweaking. And lastly, all of this, if you really want to be successful with everything that I just mentioned today or anything, it all is going to come down to planning. If you are not asking yourself at night the golden question that I have said a million times, what am I eating tomorrow? What am I eating tomorrow? If you are so used to eating X amount of calories, for you to change that habit, you're not just gonna intuitively do it throughout the day. You have to set a game plan in order to do that. So at night, we open up our app, we put our calories in, we put our food in, and I realize I'm gonna be 200 calories short. What do I need to change? Oh shit, I actually went a little bit over. What do I need to change? Just that, your meals are planned for tomorrow, you are less stressed, you're hitting your goals, you're hitting your calories, you are stress-free, food is love, we love that. So always, every single night, we are asking ourselves, what am I eating tomorrow? And just put it in the app. And then add your seeds, and then add the pesto. I love pesto. I need to learn how, if anybody has a pesto recipe, I assume it's simple, but I wanna make it, so that's my new mission. And of course, that is it for today's call. Remember that food is love and strength is power. And if we feed ourselves more and we increase our metabolism, we do all the things, food really does become love. Food is our friend, and you're just going to have more fuel. So strength is going to be your absolute power. And that is it for today. Oh, that one was kind of long. I went over like 5 minutes. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Any questions? Any questions for today? You have any? If anything came up, let me know.
I don't have a question, but I do have to say, when I did get out of my calorie deficit slash maintenance phase, that you blew my mind when you said it was a maintenance phase after a while. I was like, wow, yeah, you're right. And we went into that surplus-ish like last year. Oh, I was loving all of my lifts. All of them were so fucking strong. And I never realized that until then. And then I try to do it now and I'm like, fuck. It's because I'm not eating as much as I was before. So
Yeah.
calorie surplus.
Yeah. I like to, so for anybody here, I love that you mentioned that. I should have added, so that's the call as well, is like finding other things to focus on as well. Because let's say that first week of increasing calories, you might feel a little bit bloated, like you might feel a little bit full. You might feel like this isn't something that I should do. One, your body is gonna normalize that and it's gonna adapt and you're gonna feel fine in like a week or so. But what are other things that you can start to focus on? So for me, like Maria, my lifts start to boom. Like I have energy, all my PRs start going up. I feel better on the day to day. I'm walking more, I'm doing more. So like that's the things that I try to focus on. And the fact that obviously I love adding food to my meals. So what are the points that we can start focusing on? If your thing is strength, focusing on the strength, other than the inner dieter that's telling you that you probably shouldn't have 200 extra calories. Love that. Any other questions or would anybody else like to share? And then we will wrap up for today. Or do we have any questions on anything that has come up this past week? In the gym, nutrition wise. What was I gonna say? Oh, last thing I will say to this, if you ever want me to review your meals, just send them. Alyssa sent me a screenshot. It was actually funny because the healthy meals came in and like one of the days was obviously like not the quote unquote best. She had like pizza and like whatever, but the next day was like fine. She was just like, okay, what can I add here? And it was just those little things. I'm like, add this to like what I would do is add this to this meal, this to this meal, this to this meal. So if you ever want to share any of your meals, just take pictures of them or send me screenshots of your tracking and then I'll be able to help you from there. It's easier than me just giving you like general advice. Cool. That is it for today. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. I will see you at check-ins and make sure you kick ass this week in the gym. Love you guys.